obviously ducking me. I've challenged him twice now, and he hasn't said yes both times.
Yeah, I think he's scared.
I'm Justin Lesko, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer. The last few days have been sort of crazy in the MMA and Jiu-Jitsu world, so we have a lot to talk about tonight on the show.
Yeah, we've got Jiu-Jitsu feuds, we've got 2 new black belts, we have Anderson Silva retiring, we have tournaments being rescheduled.
Plus, in somewhat surprising news, it was recently announced that the Ultimate Fighter is going to be making a return.
And there was a big UFC title fight that was announced this weekend, so we don't have a lot of time for a long intro, but what we always have time for is telling you about Crown Rash Cards.
Yeah, but don't just take our word for it. If you go to their website, you can read all the reviews from their customers, and their reviews, almost 90% of them are coming back at 5-star reviews. I think it's like 88% of the reviews for their merchandise are coming back at 5 stars.
And I think only the Grand Canyon has a higher review percentage. And I also learned today that people review national parks and monuments on Yelp, which I guess is a thing. Almost all of the reviews mention 2 very important things: the fit of the rash guard and the fact that they don't ride up.
The ride up is the worst thing. It's like the worst thing.
Even with abs like these, I don't want my rash guard riding up while I'm rolling.
Even like abs like you used to have. Say that.
All right.
Even abs like Justin used to have.
Even abs like I used to have that Mike still wishes that he had.
Anyway, and the fit's a big thing too. I've had a ton of rash guards where the cut wasn't right and it wasn't comfortable, but that's not a problem with these at all.
Visit crownrashguards.com, and when you're doing the checkout, make sure you let them know that we sent you. And now, welcome to That Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
So I guess we can start off by talking about the beef between Keenan and Gordon. I don't even want to say
unending.
Right. I don't. Yeah, I was going to say being reignited, but it's not reignited because Gordon's been, going at his throat this entire time.
Yeah, but actually he didn't go at Keenan on this one. This was Keenan responding to something Gordon said, and it just like...
Keenan responded because Gordon went after Josh Hinger.
Yeah.
About like the online sales, and then Keenan went back at him. But like after a while, it's like fucking good for Keenan because he's been he's been quiet for 4 months now, 5 months, so...
Yeah, more than that. Well, the whole thing started... I'm just cruising on fucking Instagram over the weekend, and I see this long post from Gordon about, like you said, basically going after Josh Hinger for all this loyalty nonsense about, like, he's not being loyal to your instructor. You open a school down the road, but he's still helping you, but then you do all these sales, and Hinger's going to sell $170 worth of DVDs all year. And then Keenan commented and was making, like, a sarcastic dig about Gordon Ryan's, like, super right-wing political beliefs and called it like an anti-capitalist liberal mentality.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think some people missed the point a little bit of what Keenan was saying and being sarcastic, but
yeah, I mean,
it's just Gordon being Gordon and Keenan finally responding to something about it.
So he posted this on a story, and it was like, for having a shit ton of money and being the best at something, like, Gordon Ryan seems to be fucking miserable all the time or like grumpy all the time. So
yeah.
he responded to that by saying, you would too if you lived in a piece of shit state like New York or something, which I thought he lived in New Jersey. But anyway, so it's like, dude, if that's really what's making you be a fucking grumpy, angry prick, then move.
Yeah.
He said he was moving to Texas, but like, I just like, it's not a good look. He just doesn't seem like a nice person. And I know he doesn't give a fuck what we say about him, but it's just not a good look. And maybe it's because he's 24 years old. And like, anytime anybody says anything to him, it's always like, I have all the money. I'm the best in the world at this. And right, he is the greatest no-gi grappler of all time. I really don't think there's any, debating that, and he makes a shit ton of money because he's incredible at what he does, and with these instructionals and everything. But it's just like, if you disagree with him, like this kid can't. I don't even want to call him a guy. This kid can't just like agree to disagree.
It's not even if you disagree with him. If you say good things about him, he'll still come at you in the comments on Instagram. I'm actually surprised we've been doing this show long enough that he hasn't talked shit about us, because we've talked positively about him in the past.
Yeah, well, I talk positively about his skill set. He's incredible. But it's just like, you know.
I think when he started that thing about, do you remember when he said about like the homeless people? There was that thing about the homeless people like froze to death or something, and he basically was like, if you work hard enough, you don't have to da 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 da. And at the same time, it came out he was like still, like I said before, living in his parents' house, like still on his parents' insurance. Like,
dude, he comments on like Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey, and Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, and Gavin Newsom, California's governor. He comments on these guys' pages like, I hope your plane crashes and you fucking die. Like shit like that. And I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's just.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well,
I want to say hopefully, you'll learn, but I don't think he will, because no one's going to put him in his place.
We've talked about this with MMA guys a lot, and it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu guys. You can be a fan of someone's technique and their skill, and not agree with a lot of the choices in their personal life. Like, it's just, it is what it is. I'm not saying I agree with Gordon or Keenan in this situation. Loyalty like is a thing. I get it that Keenan and now Josh Hinger both have left Galvo at Atos. They've opened schools in San Diego, but there's a million schools in San Diego. And like, what are you supposed to do? Not make money? Like, Keenan basically got kicked out of Atos.
Yeah, and Gordon hates Galvo. Like, just mind your fucking business. You know what I mean? Like,
and do you really think that if John Danaher, first of all, Gordon sells DVDs of technique. I'm sure technique that he learned from Danaher, so I'm not sure how that's different than Keenan or Josh Hinger. And didn't Gordon not start under John Danaher and went to him to become the best in the world? So weren't you not loyal to your first coach? And if John Danaher was not a good coach, do you think Gordon would have stayed there? Would he have been loyal to his coach and stayed there despite not getting the best training?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's easy when you're in a perfect situation. It's easy when you're in a perfect situation to like cast aspersions on others for doing what they need to do for them. Just because you don't need to make a move right now doesn't mean no one else needs to make a move right now. Like, it's just not the same situation.
He works extremely hard by, I don't want to say all accounts, but by by all accounts I've heard of people referring to his, training philosophy and the amount of the amount of work he puts in. He is an extremely hard worker, and he just happens to have a mad scientist for a coach. So he's in the most ideal situation that you could be in. And it's not like, again, he works really hard at it, but I just, like you said, if he wasn't with Danaher, like, would he seek out somebody who's better? Because there's no better coach in jiu-jitsu than John Danaher, right? Am I, like, would we agree with that? Like,
I mean, if you look at success of a team and like overall accomplishments of your students, I don't think there's a more accomplished coach in the sense of what his students accomplish. So
yeah, I mean, here's the deal. We're both level-headed enough to this kid is a generational talent, and his talent will transcend eras of jiu-jitsu. Like, you'll be able to take his skill set and his talent, and he will continue to win matches probably into his 40s.
It feels like such a simpler time when Keenan and Gordon Ryan were bromancing and hanging out and being best of buds.
He was cornering him. Gordon was cornering him at no-gi pans. Keenan was going there to train, And then all because of this fucking pandemic. Thanks a lot, 2020. But anyway.
Well, I mean, pre-pandemic was the Pinkeye Fiasco, which started the whole bad. I don't want to say bad blood. It was the tipping point of the end of the bromance. Was the Pinkeye Fiasco, and if you don't remember what happened, Keenan was at Henzo's in New York preparing for ADCC, got pink eye, and then he put this post on Instagram that basically was like, if you know you have something, don't train and don't be selfish, with the word selfish really big. And a lot of people interpreted that as he was implying that all the guys at Henzo's knew they had it and trained anyway and gave it to Keenan. And then Gordon accused Keenan of trying to get Henzo's team banned from ADCC for the pink eye thing. And then in like March of this year, before the lockdown, you remember we talked about this on one of our first episodes. Yeah. Gordon and those guys were going after Keenan because Keenan was voluntarily closing the doors to his gym while the whole Danaher squad was still like having private training sessions during the pandemic, during the height of the lockdown. Like, all because Keenan got pink eye. This all sort of snowballed into this thing, and now
I don't think it was pink eye. Like it was like pink eye times 10. It was something else. Like it was some.
It was double gross pink eye. As my medical not a doctor. If you didn't, I'm not a doctor.
But like it was bad. I'm glad to see that he's and. The whole thing just goes to show you, like, Gordon just can't stay out of the drama. Like, he fucking hates Galvo. He hates Hanger. He hates Keenan. Like, if two of the people that I hate are going at each other, like, why the fuck are you even getting involved? Just enjoy the show. You know what I mean?
There's two people on Facebook that I hate, and I don't comment on their stuff. I just let it be. I just turn over.
Yeah.
I don't need to watch it.
I agree.
But we mentioned ADCC. The ADCC got pushed back to 2022. The next ADCC that was supposed to be in 2021 just got delayed. So another big story. But Masters Worlds is still happening in December in Orlando. So it's sort of weird to see like one major tournament get postponed while another major tournament is still taking place.
I'm actually kicking around the idea of going to Florida for Masters Worlds. I was
to compete or to wear your That Jiu Jitsu podcast T-shirt and interview people?
Yes to both. Yes to both. Well, I wouldn't be able to interview people because you're only allowed in there when you're competing.
You just stand in the parking lot.
I will. I'll definitely do that. But
like T-Pain says, you got a parking lot pimp.
Well, if T-Pain said it, then. So I was sick as fuck last week, but prior to that, I was training hard. I felt really good. So we'll see how far it set me back. It really fucked me up. Being sick. It wasn't COVID, by the way. I think it was strep throat. But I was on antibiotics, and I just got so fucking sick. See how far it set me back. But it's 6 weeks away. So here's hoping to get a solid 6 weeks in and train. And then obviously like the COVID implications on it too. Like I'm not going down to a fucking hot spot.
Yeah.
So we'll see where we're at.
They said that they canceled the ADCC because they wouldn't be able to do the trials, and they refused to do it if it was just like an invitation only and not do the trials.
That's only part of it.
I mean, I'm just going off what was said.
But if you think about it, that trials, so the East Coast and the West Coast trials, out of 16 people, that only brings 2 people to each weight class, because the East Coast Trials winner gets a ticket and the West Coast Trials winners gets a ticket. So there's 16 people in the bracket, so 2 of them come from the trials. Like if you get second place at the trials, you don't go to ADCC.
Yeah.
And the women, they only have 1 trial, so it's only 1 female from each weight. So like the real reason behind this, and they hinted to it, or they might have even come out and said it, it's going to cost them an extraordinarily the cost is going to be extraordinarily high, and they can't put this on without fans in the stands. Like it just won't.
No,
it won't work.
I think they said this event will cost around $1 million, and we need
Yeah.
the audience to cover costs, and not to mention create the atmosphere. So like you're 100% right. If they don't have people buying tickets to get in the door, they can't. Just the testing of these people alone. Like I'm assuming they're going to do COVID testing at the actual trial. I mean, again, a year from now, I would hope that things look a little different. But you have to work on the assumption that it's not, because you can't just assume it's going to go away. We're not going to do it. We're not going to go political. But the cost of just testing alone and getting all these guys to your location, put them in a place for 2 weeks so they can quarantine, fucking test them. Like it's
a lot.
It's a lot of money.
It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. Maybe they should start testing for steroids too. That's a talk for another day.
We have too many topics for tonight to get into the fucking steroids talk again.
And we got like another year to talk about Abu Dhabi too.
Well, I am kind of the only good thing about them pushing it back is now it's on even years, because they do it every 2 years. So it'd be
I don't think that's going to impact it. And
I
don't think that's going to impact it because they're going to do it early in 2022.
See, I don't think they're going to do early 2022 and late 2023.
They are.
You do 22, 24, 26.
No, they're going to
keep it on keep it on the evens, man. It's just so much cleaner.
It is cleaner, but I feel like the odds suit Abu Dhabi. I don't know.
Maybe now push it back a year. Maybe we get a nice little one of us can take a run at ADCC. I would probably be me because I'm better at leg locks. And then we can have we could be, if you go to Masters Worlds and you win it, that would be our first major win since we've been doing the show.
Yeah.
And you would have like a little extra ball in your court, a little extra hand, a little power. I don't want you to go.
I got to go now.
Speaking of Team Henzo, not drama, still involving Orion. Did you see Nicky Ryan got his black belt today, the day we're recording?
Him and Ethan Krenlenstein.
Yeah.
So, well deserved. They're fucking, both of them are animals.
I see Nicky Ryan is getting a little bit, a little husky.
Oh, bro, he's fucking yoked. Did you see that picture that they posted with them weightlifting? Yeah. I'm like, this dude, he's finally hitting puberty or something. No, I think he's like 18 or 19 now. So
yeah. Dude, I remember when he first jumped on the scene, and you were like, "Oh shit, it's Gordon Ryan's brother. That's cool." And then he just was like a fucking phenom and beat everybody. I remember,
bro. He's beaten Gio. He's beaten Marvin Castell. Yeah, and he's lost to the Rotolos. They beat one of them, but he lost to the other one. Like they're even younger than he is. I think they're 17. They just got their brown belts.
Yeah.
So
it's been a lot of promotions. We talked about Cyborg getting her black belt last episode. Must be promotion season. But all these promotions are obviously well deserved, or else we wouldn't be talking about them so positively. But it's crazy to think. You think Gordon Ryan is young at 24. Nicky, who has the potential to be, I'm going to say it, better than Gordon, is even younger. It's just fucking wild, man. We don't stand a chance against these two. If they get mad about our show, we're fucked. Usually when we talk about people, I just say they can't pass my guard, but I can't even say that as a joke this episode. Speaking of people can't pass my guard, I'm probably not going to cut this out, but Conor McGregor was doing his Q&A thing on Twitter. Did you see that?
No.
Basically, it was hashtag Ask Notorious. People were asking him stuff, and he was replying about what he thought about Khabib and something about Tony Ferguson. So I took the opportunity to challenge him to a grappling match, and I said, if you tap me, I'll buy 2 bottles of your whiskey, but if I tap you, you have to give me 3. And I was like, okay, perfect. He's obviously going to accept my challenge. I'll call Seth, and we'll put it on Fight to Win card. Either way, I think I'm going to beat him, but either way, we'll just have some whiskey afterwards. He'll come on our show, and we'll go viral off of me versus Conor at Fight to Win. And he didn't respond.
Well, he's scared, obviously.
I mean, obviously ducking me. I've challenged him twice now, and he hasn't said yes both times.
Yeah, I think he's scared. Although he did sweep Nate Diaz in their match. So his jiu-jitsu is not completely lacking. He does have a somewhat decent ground game.
Well, I remember there was a back in when everyone liked Conor, like 2016 Conor, 2017 Conor, Eddie Bravo was talking about how when Conor was like just coming up in the UFC, he stopped in at like the 10th Planet headquarters and asked to roll with like their best guys, and Eddie Bravo was very complimentary of his jiu-jitsu, and I mean that was 4 or 5 years ago maybe. So
Dylan Dennis,
I don't think he's a slouch, but
Dylan Dennis, who's a fucking idiot. Hey Dylan, you're a fucking idiot. Said that
it's our weekly reminder that we don't like Dylan Dennis.
Yeah.
Once a week we have to tell you we don't like Dylan Dennis.
Said that Conor McGregor is has the best jiu-jitsu in MMA.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much I can.
I don't know if we've said this in the past minute, but hey, Dylan, you're a fucking idiot.
That's your twice weekly reminder. We don't like Dylan Dennis. What were we talking about before we got sidetracked with fucking Twitter?
Nothing. You said that you were going to cut that out, but then you started talking about something else. So, did you see that they did Subversive at in Philly?
Yeah, I really like that event. Like, I think it's one of the best ways you can do a team jiu-jitsu event.
They had a bunch of people from Philly, obviously, but then they brought in a team from, like, there were some really big names. They had...
I was surprised. I was surprised seeing big names like
Tex
traveling.
Johnson, Lucas Barbosa, John Combs, Nick Ronan came in again, but he competed here like 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to think who else off the top of my head.
They had Elizabeth Clay on that event.
Elizabeth Clay. They gave out like most MVP for the male competitor under 180, who was John Combs, who had he like showed out big time. And above 180 was Lucas Barbosa. They both went 4-0, and I forget who they gave it to on the female side of things, but Atos ended up winning. There's a black belt named Isaiah Wright, and he's fought before. He's good. Like he's good. And you know Alex Myers? Right? You know Alex, right? Lex's friend?
Yeah, I've rolled with Alex. I've rolled with his brother as well. They're both really good. They're both really good.
So they're both black belts now, him and his brother. But fucking Alex Myers takes this kid down, or gets on top of this kid, passes this Isaiah Wright, I think his name is, passes his guard, fucking gets him into almost a scarf hold, like a Josh Barnett scarf hold, and then steps over for like the key lock with the legs, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And fucking taps this guy in like a minute and a half. I was like, holy fuck. He was part of the Daniel Gracie squad. These events put local talent, I've said this before on here, put local talent on the big stage against like big name people from out of the area. Like I think it's, you know, number one, I think it's good to show the local talent, but also it's like it's a gauge to see where we're at. And the jiu-jitsu scene in Philly is really fucking really good. Really good. All right, guys, we just want to take a little break here to talk to you about a contest that we're having, and how you can win a free gi from Always Be Choking.
It's pretty simple. If you go to patreon.com/thatjujitsupodcast and you subscribe to us there, at the end of the month, we're going to draw a name from our subscribers, and that person is going to win a free gi.
What about the Always Be Cobra gi that's on pre-order right now?
That's a good point. Thank you for reminding me. If you really like the Always Be Cobra gi, and you should, if you pre-order for that and you subscribe to us on Patreon, your entry for the contest will be a full refund for that pre-order.
So just so we're clear, that's the route you guys should take. You should subscribe to us on Patreon. You should go to Always Be Choking's website, pre-order the Always Be Cobra gi. If you win the contest, then you'll get your money back and you'll still get the Always Be Cobra gi.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Patreon.com/thatjujitsupodcast. We'll link to that in the description below, as well as to the order form for the new Always Be Choking gi, the Always Be Cobra. Enter now, and good luck. You might win a free gi.
And now back to the show.
I was It was a little weird watching on Saturday Anderson Silva fight Uriah Hall, knowing going into the fight that Anderson Silva was retiring. But when you think back to Anderson Silva when he was just the king of the middleweight division and just how untouchable he was and how he could do whatever he wanted in a fight, I don't think that there was anyone who was as exciting to watch as Anderson Silva when he was at his peak. It was just every fight. I don't say every fight. There was a couple that were, Patrick Cote comes to mind, Damian Maia comes to mind, but he could just do what. Yeah, he could just do whatever he wanted in these fights, man, and it was a really exciting time to be a fight fan when Anderson Silva was at his peak.
16 fights in a row, something crazy like 11 straight title defenses. Like, yeah, he's incredible. He should have retired.
Well, I saw it was someone had posted it on Reddit, and I actually sent it to my brother Jeff today. After 2013, he had like 16 wins in a row between 2006 and 2012, and then in 2013, after he lost to Weidman the first time, he was like 1-7-1 with like that one no contest in there. Like, yeah, he should have retired, but when you were at such a high level, I understand the desire to keep coming back and trying to get back there.
It's probably so much harder. And Dana White said it. He's like, I made a mistake. And like Uriah Hall's like running around like he just beat 2009 Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I mean, it's like BJ Penn. If you beat BJ Penn right now, you're still going to celebrate because you beat fucking BJ Penn, but
I don't know. Like Dana White was saying it too, and if you looked, like I think he threw like 20 punches in the second round between, or Uriah Hall threw like 11 or 12 or something. And Anderson Silva threw like 8. It was just such a low output, and it's.
I know. And I actually thought in the first 2 rounds, I thought Anderson Silva was going to win. I thought Anderson Silva was going to beat Uriah Hall.
The first round was a good round. The second round sucked, but
there were flashes of like, okay, he's like, because Anderson Silva has always been in the first round, it's a feel it out round. He doesn't do a lot. He's trying to get his reads. He's very meticulous in the first round. And he sort of, once he finds that timing and he figures your puzzle out, he just goes. And there was a couple of times where I was like, okay, he's got it, he's going to go. Because I was pulling for Anderson Silva to win that fight, knowing it was his last one. I really, really wanted him to go out with a bang, and then Uriah Hall had other plans.
Another thing that's like Uriah Hall's like running around beating his chest because he just beat up a 45-year-old Anderson Silva. He's calling out Adesanya now, and it's like, bro, you don't want that. You know what I mean? Like you have barely above a 500 record, and 2 of your wins are a 45-year-old Anderson Silva and like a 39-year-old Chris Lieben.
Do you remember when Uriah Hall was on The Ultimate Fighter, and before the show even aired, Dana White was talking about, there's this guy on the show right now who could be fighting Anderson Silva in 6 months, and this guy could be champion in a year. And this guy's like, when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, it was amazing. The fights he had and the dudes the way he was finishing dudes. And then he ran into Kelvin Gastelum in the final and lost. And then ever since he left The Ultimate Fighter, the show itself, he struggled to get enough momentum to like get himself into top 5 title contention.
Chael Sonnen said it too on that Ultimate Fighter. He's like, you're a contender for the title.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, like big things for this guy. And then just, never really got going. So. Yeah,
and you're right. He does not want Izzy. He doesn't want that smoke.
Well, speaking about Adesanya too, they just, I guess it's kind of been confirmed, right? That they
haven't set a date yet, but it's confirmed that it's happening. That it's going to be Izzy versus Jan, and I'll let you handle the last name pronunciation. Jan
Blachowicz. Anyway, he is the lines came out today, and Izzy's like minus 180, and Jan is like plus 250 on the money line. But apparently, then this is interesting. They offered Whitaker to fight him, and Whitaker said no.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
Whitaker basically, well, it wasn't even that he said no. Whitaker was like, I want the fight, but I'm doing a lot to try to get my family together to be together for Christmas, and I'd like it to be like a little bit later, not so immediately. And then Dana was like, "This guy said he doesn't want the fight. I've never seen anything like it. This guy doesn't want the fight." And then Izzy's going to move up and fight for the light heavyweight title and a chance to be a double champion. And kind of feel a little bad for Robert Whittaker. I mean, I've said previously I don't think that he would beat Izzy in a rematch, but I think he's done enough to earn a rematch, and you can't give the guy like one extra month.
If Izzy wins, my prediction is Weidman versus Whittaker for the 185-pound title.
You think if Izzy wins, he does not go back to 185?
No. Mm-mm.
I think because I do think that if Izzy wins, that pretty much sets the stage for him versus John Jones.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think, and we'll do more of a breakdown as that fight gets closer, but do you think the early money line is right and Izzy wins that fight?
Yeah. Yes.
I agree. Jan is a very good fighter. Jan is a very good fighter. But I just think Izzy right now is top of the food chain.
Yeah, he's on another level.
Well, maybe we can do Izzy beats Jan, and then they immediately start filming The Ultimate Fighter, and it's Izzy versus John as coaches on The Ultimate Fighter.
I have my speculation on who the coaches are going to be.
All right, well.
I think it's going to be Khabib and GSP.
No way. There is not a chance. No way. No, you're wrong.
I think so.
You're wrong.
If it's not him, I could see Izzy and John Jones. But I think it's going to be Khabib and GSP.
I really hope that this is one of those instances where in February, I'm posting this clip about how I said how wrong you were to make me look dumb because you were right, and it really is GSP coming back to fight Khabib. I don't think it is. I think it's more likely you're going to do John versus Izzy and try to get people to come back in and buy ESPN Plus just to watch The Ultimate Fighter. I think if they were going to do Khabib versus GSP, Dana White said this weekend that he thinks Khabib isn't going to retire and he's going to come back for his 30th win. I think Dana is smart, and if that was in the works, he wouldn't have said that. So you could do it more like a double return of Khabib and GSP and promote it that way.
Well, we'll see. Time will tell.
We'll see. Time will tell. And I'll post a clip in February of which one of us was right. It'll be me.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to link to social media below. Also, we're going to put a link below to our YouTube page. And on there, you can find video versions of all of our episodes.
I'm also going to link to our Patreon account for the contest we're running for the free Always Be Choking gi, and I'm going to link to the pre-order for the Always Be Cobra gi as well. Don't forget, if you do the pre-order now, your contest entry can be a full refund for that pre-order of the Always Be Cobra gi. So check both of those links out. Say, catch you next time.
I don't want to do that one.
Say, see you later.
See you later.
Why don't you want to do catch you next time?
No, it's just weird.
Well, you think of something to say then.
All right. Say adios, banditos.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.